Oh my goodness. After years of whispers, speculation, and unanswered questions, Buckingham Palace has finally done something no one thought it ever would. This isn't some tabloid headline or anonymous rumor floating through gossip circles. This is the palace itself, the beating heart of British royalty, officially breaking its silence. For so long, the world watched and wondered, what's really going on with Meghan and Harry's children, Archie and Lilibet? Were they truly royal heirs? Why did they never appear in the same light as Prince William and Kate's children? Why was there such an eerie silence from the palace whenever their names came up? The questions piled up and the royal watchers grew restless. The mystery thickened with every public event where the Sussex children were absent, every photograph that never surfaced, every royal ceremony that moved on without a single mention of them. And now, at last, the quiet is over. Sources deep within Buckingham Palace confirm that official papers have been drawn up, not drafts, not internal notes, final documents. These aren't temporary memos or reversible decisions. These are permanent orders that will redefine Archie and Lilibet's royal status forever. The verdict? Cold, ruthless, irrevocable. The message from the monarchy is clear. Their claim to royal identity is over. This isn't just a family disagreement. It's not about personalities or personal drama. This is about the law, about the ancient, unbending structure that holds the monarchy together. To understand this shocking move, you have to travel back more than a century to a time when a king carved the rules of royal legitimacy into stone. The year was 1917. Europe was at war, empires were collapsing, and the British crown faced pressure like never before. It wasn't just bombs and borders, it was the bloodline itself that needed protection. King George V, ancestor to today's royals, decided to act. He issued a declaration known as the Letters Patent, a royal decree that might not sound dramatic, but it shaped everything that followed. It wasn't poetry, it wasn't passion, it was law, pure, rigid law. Within those carefully chosen words lay a system that would define who had the right to be called prince or princess. The rules were simple but strict. The child had to come from legitimate royal blood. Their birth had to be formally recognized and recorded by the crown. They had to be properly tied to the Church of England. No shortcuts, no bending the rules. For generations, that system protected the monarchy. It kept the bloodline pure and the titles meaningful. It made sure that prince and princess weren't just decorative words, they were earned positions within the monarchy's sacred order. But when the palace looked at Archie and Lilibet, something didn't quite fit. Through no fault of their own, the children didn't tick every royal box. Their births, their records, even their ties to the church carried irregularities that made the palace uneasy. And so, the moment they entered the world, a silent countdown began. The royal machinery was waiting patiently, methodically for the day it would move. 2019 should have been a joyful chapter. The birth of baby Archie brought smiles to the world. There were official photos, cheerful press releases, and glowing words from both Harry and Meghan. Everything appeared perfect until the paperwork raised its first red flag. On Archie's birth certificate, Meghan was listed by her full name, Rachel Meghan Markle. Normal enough. But then, suddenly, that document was changed. Quietly, without public explanation. Her name vanished, erased, and was replaced with her royal title, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. Who does that? Birth certificates are not fashion statements, they're historical records. But here was one being edited as if it were a PR post. Meghan claimed the palace forced her to do it. Palace aides denied it completely. Both sides threw accusations, but no one backed down. Behind the scenes, insiders say this wasn't just about image. It was about legal placement, about whether Archie's birth had been properly filed within royal records. If there were inconsistencies, it could cast a permanent shadow over his legitimacy in the royal line. And once doubt enters royal paperwork, the cracks begin to spread. Then came 2021 and the arrival of little Lilibet Diana. By then, the palace had learned something powerful. Silence can say more than any statement ever could. When William and Kate welcomed their children, the palace trumpets blared, the announcements were public, and the royal doctor's signatures were etched into history. But with Lilibet, nothing. No formal statement from Buckingham Palace, no heralds, no public confirmation. The announcement came instead from sunny California, crafted not by royal staff, but by Harry and Meghan's own PR team. For royal historians, that moment was seismic. It was as though the monarchy had quietly closed a door. A royal birth without royal acknowledgement, that had never happened in modern history. And when Meghan later confirmed that Lilibet had been baptized in California, not in Britain, the whispers inside the palace grew into alarms. The ceremony was joyful, yes, but it wasn't recognized by the Church of England. That detail may sound small, but in royal tradition, it's everything. A royal baptism isn't just about faith, it's about connection. It seals the child's place within both the church and the monarchy. Without that registration, Lilibet's ceremony was, in the eyes of the institution, invalid. So while the Sussexes celebrated, the crown quietly drew a line through the page. For Meghan, this was more than paperwork, it was identity. From the moment she became a duchess, her image was built around her royal status. She wasn't just Meghan Markle from Hollywood, she was Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, wife of a prince, mother to royal heirs. That was her power, that was her brand. It fueled documentaries, interviews, Spotify deals, and the glowing imagery of her new venture, American Riviera Orchard. The brand wasn't just about jam jars and lifestyle, it was about a life touched by royalty. Years of tension, of whispers, of headlines, all end with the stroke of a pen. Buckingham Palace has chosen protocol over personalities, order over emotion, legacy over love. For Meghan and Harry, it's devastating. Their empire was built on being royal rebels, but once the crown erases your name, you are no longer a rebel. You're simply forgotten. Archie and Lilibet will live happy lives, perhaps freer ones, surrounded by sunshine, palm trees, and Hollywood glamour. But in the history books, the official ledgers of the British monarchy, their names won't appear. And that, perhaps, is the coldest punishment of all. Because in the royal world, to be unrecorded is to be erased forever. But let's be honest, this story doesn't end with a royal decree. Oh no, the real storm is just beginning. Because what Buckingham Palace did wasn't just an administrative act, it was a statement, and the world is reacting. Inside royal circles, the move is being called the final cleansing of the bloodline, a harsh but deliberate attempt to protect the future King Prince William and his heirs from any question of blurred lineage. For decades, the monarchy has survived scandal after scandal by clinging to one thing: purity of order. And with this move, the palace has reminded everyone that no matter how powerful or famous you become, the crown bends for no one. Royal experts say this was not a decision made overnight. Meetings had reportedly been happening behind closed doors for months. Advisors from both the legal and constitutional sides were consulted. Some senior courtiers, those who had once shown sympathy for Harry and Meghan, tried to argue against such a harsh measure. But the answer was the same. The rules could not be bent. Tradition had to win. And if you listen closely to palace whispers, there's another reason for the timing. The crown knew this announcement would sting, but it also knew that public sentiment had shifted. The once popular Sussex couple had, in the eyes of many, become controversial critics of the very institution that gave them everything. Interviews, tell-all memoirs, explosive documentaries, each one widened the gap between them and the royal family. So when the papers were signed, the palace didn't fear backlash, it expected applause. For Meghan, though, this was more than a loss of titles, it was a personal unraveling. Friends say she was shocked. The Duchess, who had once walked the marble halls of Buckingham Palace, now watched helpless as her children's royal names vanished from history. Insiders close to her claimed that she felt betrayed, not just by the monarchy, but by the very system she believed she could modernize. Her entire post-royal career had leaned on the idea that she wasn't just another celebrity, she was royal. Her lifestyle brand, her interviews, even her presence at charity events, everything carried that subtle golden glow of royalty. And when that glow fades, so does the allure. Without the royal connection, she faces the brutal truth of Hollywood. Fame without the crown is fleeting. And what about Harry? The once joyful prince who had vowed to protect his family from the institution now finds himself torn between two worlds that no longer accept him. Friends say he has become withdrawn, heartbroken, and confused. He's learning that rebellion has a price, and that price is permanence. He thought stepping away meant freedom, but in the end, it meant disconnection. His calls to his brother go unanswered. His letters to his father receive polite, empty replies. The distance between California and London has never felt so vast. Still, deep down, Harry refuses to give up. Those who know him say he's preparing to fight back, not through anger, but through legacy. He wants his children to grow up proud of who they are, even if the monarchy refuses to recognize them. And let's not forget the palace itself, the heart of this operation. Sources say the Queen's legacy weighed heavily on this decision. Even after her passing, her name still echoes in the corridors of Buckingham. The late Queen had believed deeply in maintaining order, not chaos. Those who worked closely with her say that the new king, Charles, felt duty-bound to follow that principle to the letter. Some insiders even claim that Charles hesitated, that he wanted to delay the decision until the dust of his early reign had settled. But advisors pressed him to act swiftly to secure the monarchy's future before public opinion turned again. And so, with one signature, a line was drawn through history. Archie and Lilibet would grow up loved by their parents, but no longer royal. Because, make no mistake, this wasn't just about two children. It was about sending a message to the world. The British monarchy doesn't trade tradition for trend, and it doesn't negotiate with fame. And perhaps that's what makes it so powerful and so terrifying. The palace didn't raise its voice, it didn't hold a press conference, it didn't release a statement filled with emotion. Instead, it spoke the only way royalty ever truly speaks, through action. And that action was louder than any headline.